Hello, this is Mr. Voss. I am here with Mr. Kerkhoff's rotation. We are doing our Black History Month social studies projects. This rotation, this class, has chosen to do a moment of time in Black history and bring it to life. Today, you will be observing different groups portraying different periods of time of history from the era from long ago. We hope that you will enjoy these presentations. Thank you.
In this 1964 NFL championship, Jim Brown and the Cleveland Browns were playing against the Baltimore Colts.
This was Jim Brown's first championship game.
Jim Brown is one of the greatest players of all time. Some consider him the greatest of all time.
Jim Brown is the Cleveland Browns running back.
Who was the quarterback at the time when Jim Brown was playing in his 1964 NFL championship. So, as you see, Jim Brown jukes out the defender. I was portraying Jim Brown, so he jukes out a defender. He goes for a touchdown. I added celebration there, but I don't think it actually happened like that. So. So this was a 40-yard run by Jim Brown, which really boosted the Cleveland Browns, because at the end of the first half, nobody had scored yet. So here on this 40-yard run, that got things started for the Cleveland Browns. So I fell there because I was pretending I got the tackle.
Hi, my name is Riley. My name is Sophie, and this is
Riley.
And today we're going to be talking about the bus boycott. But The bus boycott was a certain time where black people refused to ride the buses because of what happened to Rosa Parks.
What happened to Rosa Parks is she got on the bus and she sat where white people were supposed to sit, and she refused to go to the back.
So we hope you enjoy our presentation.
Yes, this might be any city of the Deep South going about its daily business. But there is something different about it now, especially here in the heart of the city. What's different? The buses are empty.
Bus boycott was a certain time of period where black people refused to ride the buses because of what happened to Rosa Parks.
Did you know that the bus boycott lasted 381 days, which is a very long time? It's more than a year.
Okay, so I hope you like it, and I want to say thank you to Sam for helping us being the bus driver, and Drake, and Landry, and Isla, and Tyler, and Alex, and
There's a lot of people that helped us.
Kaylin.
Thank you.
So thank you if you helped us in the videos. I hope you enjoyed.
This is what Jackie Robinson's field looked like. This is the stadium, and obviously this was his field. So Jackie Robinson's first game was important because it helped break the boundaries between only like white people being able to play baseball in the MLB, and also so that it was also part of the equal rights movement, like a lot of things were.
Jackie Robinson has the ability, he can make it, that's all I'm gonna have.
And so, Jackie Robinson made his major league debut at Ebbets Field in Brooklyn in a game managed by Clyde Suthorpe, April 15, 1947. Jackie officially broke baseball's color barrier against the Braves' Johnny Sane. The game itself was not a sellout. Robinson went hitless in a strictly major league game, but still, he made an impact. In the seventh inning, Jackie laid down a bunt. The blazing speed he displayed as he ran to first base resulted in an error. Later in the inning, Pete Reeser drove Jackie home with a go-ahead individual winning run on the Dodgers' 5-3 triumph.
This is our diagram to show Ruby Bridges entering elementary school.
This is our presentation on Ruby Bridges' first day of school. Ruby Bridges. What will this presentation cover? Ruby Bridges was... Sorry. This presentation will cover the story of Ruby Bridges. It will show the change in her story and how the publicity affected her story. This will put you in Ruby's perspective. You will see what it was like to live the way she was. What was she known for?
What was she known for? Ruby Bridges was born on September 8, 1954. Unfortunately, during the time, people still believed in segregation. At the ripe age of 6, November 1960, Ruby Bridges became the first African American to go to an all-white elementary school in the South. The school's name was William Franz Elementary School.
And this is Ruby Bridges leaving school, so you can see the federal marshals will come. How did it start? Ruby Bridges became the first African American girl to go to an all-white school because she was one of the few children to pass an exam. This exam tested their skill. Ruby excelled. Therefore, the decision was made to let her into William Franz Elementary School. The people's reaction. Though there were some people that supported Ruby and her family during this tough time, there was a lot of backlash. She was constantly taunted and picked on by people of all ages. It was so bad that she had to be escorted to school by federal marshals. And those are protesters. Our representation. So, Isla, would you like to read this slide, please? This is our representation of Ruby Bridges on her way to school. This was created by Kaylin Tate to show what it was like for Ruby. It is easy for us to look at pictures, but we don't focus on what it would feel like for someone like Ruby. Imagine one day you were walking to school and all of a sudden people were yelling at you. They were chanting and holding up offensive signs. This is what it was like for Ruby. She was a direct target of hatred. This is our way of showing it. Thank you to Kaylin for showing this in a picture. The change that was made in the school after she came.
After Ruby Bridges showed up at William Franz Elementary School, many kids unfortunately were pulled out of class. Parents thought that Ruby was a danger and didn't want their child with her. On Ruby's first day of school, she was immediately escorted to the principal's office to do her work. This kept her away from the hatred and kept her out of danger.
The outcome. After a long time, people's thoughts on Ruby began to change. They began to put themselves in her shoes as time went by. She made a huge impact on the civil rights movement and helped people realize what a hard time it was for Black people. This act was the beginning of integrated schools and a place for children of all races. Thanks to strong people like Ruby, we can walk hands and thank you.
Micah Brooks, this is Sam and Drake, and our presentation is about the March on Washington.
I'm Kelly Smith.
I'm Haley Hyatt.
And I'm Kensington North.
Today we will be talking about the Martin Luther King Jr. I Have a Dream speech.
As you can see, we made a visual representation of the Martin Luther King Jr. I Have a Dream speech.
We have also made a triboard of extra information in part of the speech.
So here you can see Martin Luther King at the front of the box with the crowd listening and the Lincoln Memorial in the background.
On the board, we have a few important pictures, part of the speech, and an MLK drawing on the side.
The I Have a Dream speech was based off the Civil Rights Movement. The speech was one of the most important parts of the Civil Rights Movement because nothing brought more attention to the Civil Rights Movement more than that speech.
The I Have a Dream speech brought tons and tons of attention to the Civil Rights Movement because this was the first big thing to come to the movement in years, and nothing till then brought this much more. MLK was born on January 15, 1929 in Atlanta, Georgia. He was assassinated on April 4, 1968 in Memphis, Tennessee. The I Have a Dream speech was said by Martin Luther King Jr. on August 28, 1963. Almost no one could clearly hear Dr. King's speech. An expensive sound system was installed for the event, but it was sabotaged right before. Attorney General Robert Kennedy was enlisted the Army Corps of Engineers to fix the system.
For our presentation, we represented the March on Washington.
The March on Washington took place on August 28, 1963 in Washington, D.C.
There were over 250,000 people that came together that day to protest.
The famous protest was not one that included violence.
It was also held on the same day Martin Luther King's famous I Have a Dream speech.
The March on Washington was a big event in the Civil Rights Movement.
So in our project, we represented the march in the front.
And then MLK is giving his I Have a Dream speech in the back.
In the background, we have the Lincoln Memorial because that was where the march ended.
And we have a couple different pictures for the March on Washington. This picture is of the protesters marching down Washington Street on the day that the protest took place.
This one's very similar, but it's a little bit different. They're not in the same place, and they're not marching at the moment. They're just standing.
And the bottom one is Martin Luther King Jr. about to give his famous I Have a Dream speech.
Thank you for listening to our presentation. We hope you enjoyed.
Claudia Colvin was arrested before Rosa Parks.
She was arrested because she did not give up her seat to a white woman, stating that she had already paid.
At the age of 14, she was arrested in 1955.
This was the newspaper that Claudia Colvin was arrested in the bus seat case in Montgomery, Alabama. Claudia Colvin was the first one to give up her seat to a white woman, but she's protesting so that she could stay up there. Claudia Colvin also stated that it was her constitutional right to be able to sit there because it was in the back of the bus and she did her fair share. Over the years since she got arrested for doing that Montgomery bus protest, people have been trying to stand up for her to get her rights she needs.